After leaving Benares, we realized that the city we would like to come back to whenever we came to India is Benares. And not the new part of the city, but the old part of the city, because the old part of the city has a beauty, has a presence that is unique in the world, being the most ancient living city of the world. And in the old city, the advantage of the old city is that you don't reach the old city by cars. So you stay away from the negative aspects of development, which is traffic and horns and noise and chaos. The old city doesn't allow this to happen because it's all in alleyways, and you don't reach there by cars. So we looked for a place in the old city, which was an old building, an old house, and then we wanted to see if it was possible to renovate the old house. So we found an old building which was not on the Ganga as we would have liked it to be, but we found it just behind a big palace, which was in the moment that we bought the house, was bought by a chain of hotels. This building, this palace, was sold by a king, and the hotel wanted to utilize this palace for making a hotel, and so they started demolishing this building. And when we went to the local development authority to check if it was possible to demolish old buildings, we were shocked to find out that there was no law against demolition of old buildings. There was law against construction of new buildings, but no law to prevent old buildings from being demolished. And that's when after we bought the house, we decided to make a non-government organization because we lived within the family, since it was a multicultural family, since my husband is not Indian and belongs to Italy. We lived in the family a culture of dialogue. And we wanted to make a non-government organization so that we could express this culture of dialogue, also in the culture of partnership between different countries, between different religions, between different cultures, in a sort of testimony in a city which has actually been witness to various cultures migrating and settling in it, whether it's from neighboring villages or it's different states of India. So you have in Benares different neighborhoods which have been created by migrants from different states, and not migrants coming in here for work, but migrants coming in here for pilgrimage, migrants coming in here for their livelihoods through resources which were here, like the silk industry, like the carpet weaving industry. So a lot of people from different states have come here for reasons of pilgrimage and reasons of livelihood. But you have neighborhoods which are characteristic of an architecture, a food, cuisine culture, and a ritualistic culture from different states. So the city lives a culture of dialogue within the country's various states and cultures and schools of philosophy and languages. And it's kind of not only testimony to this culture of dialogue, but it also promotes and encourages this dialogue. And we felt this, I would say, the spirit of dialogue. And since we live it in our own family, we wanted to be able to express it. And we created a NGO whose aim was to facilitate dialogue and partnerships for common development, or for common growth, for mutual growth and mutual, let's say, understanding. This is and once after we bought the house, and after we bought the house and realized that the palace in front of the house, which was being converted into a hotel, was being demolished, we went to the local authorities to check why it was being demolished and whether there was any law that would prevent it from being demolished. And we realized that there was no law that could prevent anyone from demolishing an old building. And at that point, despite our efforts to create, let's say, to dialogue with these people and try to make them understand why it was important to preserve the architecture of an old palace and not to demolish it. Not only because the feeling of the palace and the beauty of the palace would be destroyed, but also because it would give a message to the community that destroying old buildings was possible and no one could prevent it. The people who own this chain of hotels didn't listen to us, and so despite our attempt to take dialogue as the way to resolve a problem, we were catapulted into a fight for protecting heritage. And we realized while we explored and researched into the different legislations that are there in the country to protect architectural heritage, that there are very few, and in the state of Uttar Pradesh a negligible amount is being really implemented, a negligible number of laws are being implemented or policies are being implemented. One of the major policies, one of the major directives of the state government of Uttar Pradesh was a directive that nothing could be constructed 200 meters from the Ganges, from the river Ganga, and this was being flouted. I mean, there was all buildings along the Ganga were starting to build illegal floors despite this directive in an open violation of civil laws. And we went to the local authorities, we went to the state authorities, we went to the national authorities, we went to the Archaeological Survey of India, asking how we could make sure, or how we could help preserve the buildings on the ghats of Banaras, at least on the ghats of Banaras, because the rest of the old city may be difficult to, it may be difficult in the rest of the old city to implement laws or to even make laws, because there aren't any laws, because it's inhabited, it's a more complicated urban environment, but at least the ghats along the Ganga need to be protected. And there was this only one directive and it was not being implemented. So we finally, after running from, as they call, pillar to post, from government authorities to local stakeholders, to the media, to press conferences, we realized that nothing was working. And so we decided to take to the court as a last resort. And we launched a public interest litigation in which we brought across the whole issue of the protection of the ghats. And parallelly, we did a listing of all the old buildings ourselves, and with the help of schools of architecture, which were very interested, European schools of architecture, which were interested in coming and documenting the old architectural heritage of the city of Banaras, which is known the world over. So it's not a city that has been promoted by us. It's a city that is known the world over for its architectural heritage, for its cultural heritage, intangible and tangible heritage. So it's not something new that we are bringing across. We're just bringing across the willingness to do something for this, for the protection of the city. Also because the livelihoods of the people of the city depend on this resource, which is the domestic pilgrimage tourism, or it is the foreign tourism. It depends on the protection of the architectural heritage and on the protection of the cultural heritage. So if they allow this to be destroyed, and there are the businessmen or other people who don't see long-term benefits, they only see short-term benefits, so they want to destroy buildings to be able to use them for making 40 rooms instead of being, let's say 2, 3, 4 or 10 rooms in a building. They have very short-term benefit-oriented approach to development, while the long-term development needs conservation of the local culture and the local resources, and there is space for it. It's possible to do it, and in a city like Banaras, that's the resource. So destroying that resource means destroying the livelihoods, destroying the nature, destroying the very reason for which the city exists. I want to communicate to the people of the world that preserving an old city in a country that you may never have visited, or contributing to preserving the culture of a city which you may never have visited, actually would allow such old cities, because it gives a message that it's possible. It would allow people from different countries which live this dilemma between developing and preserving, that such a combination and equilibrium and harmony between the two is possible. And I think we need international partnerships to be able to bring this message across to people.